Welcome to Doc NYC and the special Q&A for Collective. I'm Tom Powers, the festival's artistic director. Pleased to have with me the film's director, Alexander Nanau, joining us from Bucharest, Romania. Collective is named to the festival's shortlist, where we pick 15 of our favorite films of the year that we consider to be top contenders for awards. Alexander is also being honored at this year's Visionaries Tribute at the festival that happens next month. He will be receiving the Robert and Ann Drew Award for Documentary Excellence. Alexander, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor.
So when I show this film to people, a common reaction I get is, how could Alexander have been there as this whole process unfolded? You know, you didn't know ahead of time when you started that where the story was going to lead. So can you explain, what you were embarking on when you started filming these journalists?
Right. So, I mean, it's a common thing with observational documentaries that we never know, what the story actually will be that life will write. But it's always a bit about an instinct to follow the right people. And in this case, it was really this group of journalists around Kathleen Tolontan that were the only ones who unveiled the manipulation and the lies of the authorities after the accident. The lies that they can take care of the injured, that the healthcare system is fully operational and can handle so many burn victims, and so because we knew we want to make a film about the relationship between the power and the people, at a certain point we realized with our with our own development team that he would be the best character to follow. And we embarked on that. He denied first access because he said a newsroom has to be really a protected space. But then he called me and said that maybe we could try, because they are onto something. So we knew there's something. But from the very beginning, when I was filming, I didn't know what it is. So they would not, for example, brief me what all is about. I told them how I want to work, or how I used to work, and they accepted me to be around them with the camera, and they went on doing their work. And I myself realized what they were talking about while filming, which might have also benefited the way I photographed everything, because it was really the way I started to put the puzzle together is also the way I try to capture things.
So, we can understand why journalists would maybe welcome another documentary maker in. It's another thing that you got access to the Minister of Health. Usually government officials are a lot more wary about letting a camera in. Can you talk about building that relationship?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious thing was that Vlad Voiculescu was not a politician. He was basically a normal citizen that was appointed by a technocrat government, which is a government of politically independent specialists. And he was appointed as Minister of Health because he was a patient's activist. So they appointed him hoping that his appointment would let's say, moderate the fury of the people towards the healthcare system. And I was lucky because I contacted him, and after about a week, I could meet him because he was very busy putting together his cabinet and his team. And I explained to him what I'm doing and that I followed this since it began, and I followed the investigation that brought him into this position. And he said, listen, I think there is nothing to hide in the health ministry. Health belongs to people. There should be no secrets, and transparency is one of our main goals during this short period of time we have of 6 to 7 months in this office. So we had then this understanding that he would allow me the access. He would not tell me to stop the camera until somebody says that he doesn't want to be filmed. Then we would respect that. But because we were really in this cave of corruption, we had this understanding that he should never inspire others to say, stop the camera. We shouldn't film that. And that's why I could film whenever I felt it was needed. And but also for sure, there were moments where I asked people, third parties, if they want to be filmed, and they refused, so we didn't film that.
So the film had its world premiere a year ago at the Venice and Toronto film festivals, and it's been making its way around other film festivals for the last year. It was meant to come out a little bit earlier this year, except for the pandemic, at least come out in the United States. But I wonder the attention it's received. It's already, gotten a lot of great critical attention. Has that reverberated in Romania, and actually, I'm unclear if the film has shown yet in Romania.
Yes, it did, and we had 2 weeks of theatrical release before before the cinema shut down because of the pandemic in March, and we had a record number of admissions for a documentary, as we had 25,000 in 2 weeks, which is huge. Documentaries always stay under 10,000 even after a long time. And the international success helped a lot, for sure. I mean, that's also how we planned the release. We needed the international backup in a way before we would break it in the country where, many people would be, let's say, disturbed by it. Others wouldn't like it. So the response was great. And what is great, and the only thing that is really measurable, is that journalists told me that after the film came out, the number of whistleblowers was really 10 times higher per day. So there were people who decided, like, okay, I'm not going to continue to be part of it. And in a way, it also, the success of it made also the committee of the Romanian Film Center nominate the film now as Romania's Oscar entry for international feature. And it's for the first time that Romania is sending a documentary as an Oscar proposal.
I wonder if you can talk about the Romanian film scene, because in recent years, we've seen a lot of Romanian films win, fiction films win top prizes, get a lot of acclaim, and how does that kind of Romanian wave of cinema affect you?
Most of all, it affects me because it is inspiring, and it is also something that because it deals so much with realism and authenticity. It's for me even a thing that the bar is very high. You cannot make documentaries that are not at least as authentic and strong as these films. I think a documentary has to be even stronger and even more a slice of life if these films can achieve it with actors.
Right. Can you bring us up to date on the status of these journalists and other people that we met in the film today?
Yeah, so the journalists, in the meantime, the paper and Torontan were bought by a Swiss media outlet, which is called Ringie, and they implemented everything into a bigger newspaper. So Torontan now is leading and has built up several investigative teams in all sorts of themes and directions. So they represent today, during the COVID, where the government, as most governments, is highly corrupt and is really spending money without public tender. They are really the main force against the government, by their revelations. Vlad Voiculescu, after, I think 2 years after he finished his mandate, he went into politics, into a completely new party, made out of people that come out of private businesses and really want to change something. They understood they have to get implicated if they want to change society. And they just won pretty well local elections, so they won several cities. Um, and yeah, the parents are better and better every day. Actually, they start to cope with it, but the parents and Teddy, for example, it's still the Romanian judicial system is broken. So nobody was yet charged for anything, not the politicians or the doctors for the lies or for not allowing the patients to fly out to burn clinics. So we're still waiting to see what's going to happen. And now, as in the States, we will have again general elections. And it seems because the Social Democrats lost a lot of power during the last years, because people actually went out to vote in the end. They now the big doctors and the heads of the healthcare system all enrolled in the Social Democrat Party as candidates in order to save the party from the downfall it is in. So everybody's just showing his real face now. It's interesting.
And when do those elections take place?
They are supposed to take place on the 6th of December, but it's still a question because of the pandemic, because the cases are going up here every day.
As I kind of wrap this up, one of the things that is inspiring about this film is to see journalism, actually make a difference. And as I sit in the United States, it feels like every day there's some scandal in our government that in different times might have made much more of a difference in reporting on it, but somehow seems to pass, and there'll be a fresh scandal tomorrow.
Right.
And also we're living through a time where people choose their own news sources, so there's not as much a established set of facts that everyone is working off of. I wonder in this story, why you think the journalists were successful at getting the public's attention.
I mean, the first thing is that they were able to be successful and to do their job because they were whistleblowers. So I think that the real heroes are actually the woman, the one whistleblower, the doctor, and the other women that came forward, because they really risked something. But I think that the journalists were successful with the investigation because it was in a time where people, after the collective accident, people were open to criticizing the government and understanding what's going on behind closed doors. So that helped a lot for sure. But I'm sure that even today, such revelations would be successful because it's about our health. It's really, people understood that corruption kills. Corruption is not only a money issue, it is an issue of life and death. And now we understand it. During the pandemic, we really understand it, that if be it the healthcare system or the society as such with the institutions, if it doesn't work, if it doesn't function properly in our service, it can mean life or death for us.
Well, Alexander, we thank you so much for this film. The Doc NYC, we're really proud to show this preview. It's going to be released in the United States very soon after the festival from Magnolia Pictures.
November.
Yeah. So, viewers who enjoyed this, please tell your friends to go see it. Alexander, thank you again.
Thank you very much for showing it.